Hi, welcome. On this video, I want to take a few minutes to discuss what's happened in the dog training world. Again, I responded to this post put out by Dog Sense Training Behavior. I mentioned this individual before, aligned with Robert Cabral. And the statement is, again, this is on the heels of engaging Zach George and all his ideological nonsense, but through balanced dog trainers, and very interesting how they kind of respond, their response to what's happening in the dog training world. Again, this is why I want to show what's going on here so people can be able to assess these trainers' real motives. And what you're seeing here, again, my last video, was this whole thing was don't give Zach George any views or likes. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, because again, the question is, well, what's this really about? I mean, just look how fallen the dog training world has become. It's become this whole thing about popularity the wrong way. Okay, how again, this idea of things follows a path of, of approaching training as a learning-based exercise, and it feeds into people's emotions. It sets up this narrative that it's all based on appearances. You can trust appearances. The way I described is a problem based within the framework of superficial responses. And these trainers got to a level where, and this is how this is where we're at, that they don't have to answer any questions. That this is just, you're good to go. That this is where we're at. That this is the standard. Not what I talk about. Again, I'm very specific in terms of the information I'm putting out. I'll see this in a moment. How these trainers, they can't even answer specific questions. It's like they're reading off of some sort of ready-made script, because that's what they've done. Understand that trainers have gone into the dog training world and they have not looked around, which again, I did a video on this whole Zach George situation, and just look at the comments. I mean, my video is called, the dog training world's gone to hell in the handbasket, and it has. I mean, this is where we're at. And these trainers, none of them, again, all these controversies, everything happening, none of them are actually using these situations to motivate them to ask the questions they need to ask at the beginning. Is training really a learning-based exercise? And so I'm going to get into it here because you can go into this post. So this post was put out by, Dog Sense Train. Again, doing what exactly? Trying to kind of go into the low-hanging fruit here. Just like Zach George, same thing. Zach George playing off the confusion and the optics. And meanwhile, I mean, nothing's getting resolved. Okay, I mean, ask yourself the question, is the dog training world getting any better or is it getting worse? And what is this really about? Is this really about dogs the right way? I would suggest it was never about dogs the right way from the very beginning with the majority of all these trainers who continue to propagate and market and push this garbage forward. I mean, this is the level we're at. So here, I'd encourage you to go, you can check out the comments here. Again, these balanced officers, they have all their supporters, all their ideologues that, but if you look at their behavior on social media, they're no different. They don't look any different than force-free dog trainers. They engage the same way. And point proven here, I went in and asked a question by way of Dog Sense. And my question is, what exactly does that mean for about considering superficially motivating dogs to respond just like force-free dog trainers? Here's a question. Well, assuming that the possessive dogs are changing. Here it is. What is the criteria you're using to establish this exactly beyond superficial responses? What's the criteria that these trainers are using to establish that the perceptions of dogs are changing, okay, the way that they assume they are based, again, on diminishment of unwanted behavioral issues? What's the criteria? I mean, that's just a simple question. What is it? And if this is science-based, they should be able to establish it, like show it. Okay, here's the criteria we're using to establish that the perception of dogs are changing. What is it? Let's get into this. Let's connect some dots here. Because I talk about the criteria, what it is, based on, again, following a path of what training really is, and just think about this common sense. Do you honestly believe that training based on a relationship problem between dogs and owners, dog owners experiencing behavioral issues, that it's a learning-based exercise? That's ridiculous. But this is what people bought into, that, you can just, shove some treats in your hand or use a motivator to generate a response, and while assuming that you're good to go, that like you don't have to, you don't have to ask anything deeper. You don't have to actually connect dots by way of dogs as social animals, the way I described. Influence and control, you can just push those to the side, or try to bring them in a little bit through balanced training and thinking that you can, firm up this corrupted idea of things. It's a joke. And so here, I asked the question, and here's the response from Dog Sense. Mate, Australia, you're in no position to judge any trainer. Have you seen your training? What type of response is that? I mean, I go through, I put out video content, right? I talk to, I show everything. In balanced training isn't about that, or even answering a simple question, right? It's just like a cheap shot, right? And because here's the thing, it's gotten so bad, it's like these trainers think that they're not accountable to anybody. Like, I don't have to respond. I can just, shove it off and play off, the optics of stuff, right? Because that's what they're doing too. Why do you think balanced dog trainers, even the Jeff Gelman situation with the bonker, piled onto that situation just like force-free trainers? Why do you think all these controversies are happening all over the dog training world? I go through all of them through my Flipping the Script series, and there's no resolution, right? They just keep happening. And now you get the situation here, right, with Zach George once again, and these balanced dog trainers are going in there and just cheap shots, but there's no one actually asking any questions as to, okay, what's going on here? Like, why all the divisiveness? Why are these trainers just continuing to engage, but there's nothing, no one's asking any serious questions as to, okay, what's the source of the problem here? And my response was, you sound just like Zach George. Well, she does, right? That's something he would say. And I just said, again, how about answering my question? Just, crickets. And then someone else says, is English not your first language? I find it hard to make sense of what you stand from your comment, just letting you know. It's not about English, about what's difficult about establishing, like, this is supposed to be science-based. In fact, balanced dog training, more science-based. Well, let's get into this. Like, tell me how you're establishing that those responses that you're generating that way represent that the perception of dogs are changing. Like how you actually establishing that? What's your criteria to establish? At what level are they changing? How are they changing? Let's get into it. Let's go there, because clearly there's a problem. Clearly there's a lot of dog owners that are ending up in a bad way here, and trainers are blame shifting on the dogs all the time. That there's that it's something wrong with the dog. Like, let's get into this. And I go further. I say it very clearly. You should be able to explain how you're establishing, right? The dog training world is coming apart at the seams, and it is. Meanwhile, balanced dog trainers are acting like they have all the answers. I mean, think about it. I mean, they're losing tools. All these situations are happening. And then, yeah, saying to show us right here, it says, just show us how it works. Well, what the heck is that? Show us what? What, superficial responses? Like, see, that's the thing. It's like, show us how it works. Show us how. I mean, no, there's depth of relationship. Dogs are social animals, but in terms of this, superficial appearance-based ideas to what training is based on, motivating dogs that way, superficial response. Is that it? Well, no, of course it's not. So I keep talking about the parenting example. So you can go through here and just see it's just cheap shots, right? But the same complaint, balanced dog trainers want to play the victim and to want to act like they have the authority. And see, that's the problem with dog training world. This is where we're at. So my encouragement is understand you're not going to find the answers with these balanced dog trainers. They're just trying to seek more views and likes and popularity, because the entire dog training world is based on a false image of nature. Okay, it's based on this big lie that training is a learning-based exercise. I talk about how this sets up a counterfeit picture within the framework of superficial response for so many dogs and owners. Now, what's the criteria? I talk about influence and control, how they're reconciled, but here's the problem. Yeah, the balanced dog trainers go into my video, and it's a cheap shot because there's no depth anyway. I mean, go watch the video I did on the ice cream truck example. You'll find on my YouTube channel. I talk about, the inability to reconcile the responses of dogs, reactions of dogs to the relationship. That's totally missing through balanced and force-free training. This is why they get triggered and they'll jump all over stuff. This is why they'll go after each other. on social media over certain situations. There's so much confusion about, because there's no depth anyway. It's all superficial. So don't expect answers here. I put that question, it will just hang out there, right? And I'll check back to see, if there's anything significant. But based on balanced dog trainers, what it represents, there won't be. Okay, I mean that's the point, because they don't approach training as a intervention. They don't follow the path of what training even represents. It's just superficial in nature. So again, check out my website. Lots of great information. Thanks for watching.